am retired but not, ama ni namna gani? Na sasa mimi mnajua ya kwamba party leader wangu ni nani?
All right, that is former President Uhuru Kenyatta. He was speaking just after attending the funeral of one Professor George Magoha in Siaya, and of course after that went on a tour with Raila Odinga, who was saying that walikuwa wanasema shida ni Uhuru, si Uhuru ameenda nyumbani, mambo imebadilika, umeona afueni, si hali ya uchumi iko juu, walikuwa hawana nia ya kufanya kazi, ni porojo tu. That's according to Raila Odinga. And of course, so much more has been going on in this area. And I'm just wondering, Honorable Jared, when they're now being called protest rallies, and speaking at the government, questioning its legitimacy, saying won't recognize it, but then it's just 5 months into the term. What exactly do you want done?
Thank you very much, Sam. Just let me take a tangent from what my brother Mbui did allude to. Ruto said he will drop the Bible and things will be rosy. That's what he said. Firstly, as a Christian, it is wrong to... Sorry?
He said drop.
Yes, nitaangusha tu Biblia chini, alafu mambo yatakuwa sawa. Is that not the dropping the Bible?
Nikiweka chini.
Nikiweka chini. Now that is where the problem is. As a Christian, you don't drop the Bible. You keep the Bible beside you because it's the barometer. As a Christian, and by the way, I profess this, I'm a Christian professing the Seventh-day Adventist faith.
But that's a wrong classification. You have to correct him.
And the Bible has always been my barometer from childhood. So when I heard Ruto saying he's going to put down the Bible, I said now the country will be on a wrong tangent. And indeed it is. Now he's been in power the last 5 months. He promised very robust changes within the first 100 days. 100 days came and went. And now we are talking about 5 months and nothing tangible has been seen. Now, you have talked about the unga. And my brother, Honorable Ochieng, has said that whereas we were spending so much on unga subsidies, that unga was not being seen by the citizenry. I think that is what you said.
I agree.
And, you know, he has said it was a supermarket kind of unga. And, you know, in the villages, you seldom see supermarkets. So that's fine. But be it as it may, whereas the subsidies were in place, unga was meant to be 100 shillings. But in many areas it was 140 shillings because the subsidy never reached the intended recipients. But it was only 140 Kenya shillings a 2-kilogram bag. Today, under Ruto, it is 230 shillings. So even if the subsidized unga was not in place, 2-kilogram unga is now 230 shillings.
Which one?
Well, I'm not going to mention them because that will be advertising. And they have not paid me to do any advertising.
It's about 189, 190.
Let's say
198.
Where I bought one, it went for 230 shillings. But let us say it is 190, as you say. From 140 shillings, you can check. So Ruto has added 50 shillings to the unga since the time he got into office. I'm assuming the subsidy is not in place. That we are just confining ourselves into this.
To have a factual.
Another issue which cannot be controverted, Sam, is
this. That is not factual. Unga was not 140 shillings when William Ruto was becoming president.
And it is about 230
It was actually
now.
over 200 shillings.
And he's not added any price on unga.
Oh my goodness, then we are in different worlds altogether. Pump prices between July and September, fuel, petrol was going for 156 shillings between July and August before elections. Today, it is 177 shillings, a liter of petrol. Ruto has added a cool 22 shillings on 1 liter of petrol. Diesel was trading at 137 shillings on pump prices. Ruto is selling it at 162 shillings. So you can just see how, within a very short span of time, Our prices have gone so much higher. That is why life is unbearable in this country. Now, from what Honorable Babu Owino was saying, that we need to, as a parliament, sit down and look at some of these punitive taxes with a view to reducing them. I know, people will be fighting. Ruto's government wants to make more money, overtax Kenyans so that we can prosper. But again, what therefore happens, just as my brother Mbud has said...
Something has to be made clear.
Of what? Well, let me finish.
Taxing, he's talked about it 3 times now, and it's not true that any tax rate has been added since 2017, 2022 August. I think that has to be clear.
I was only talking about the prices, how they have moved since Ruto took into power.
That's addition.
And this is not controvertible. I mean, it is 177 now. I've just bought petrol on my way here. Diesel is trading at 162 shillings. Uhuru left it at 137. So that is besides the topic. Look at the token. For those who are buying token to use power, half of that money goes into taxes. People only get token half the amounts. If you buy a token of 3,000 shillings, for instance, you only get for 1,500 shillings. 1,500 goes into taxes. And there's a series of taxes lined up, catalogued. Some of them do not even make sense to the common Kenyan. We are talking about subsidies in relation to the International Monetary Fund. We know that IMF is the body that pushed Ruto to do away with subsidies. And this is not a new phenomenon. It began during President Uhuru's time. But President Uhuru renegotiated with IMF so that they could give us a breather upon which Kenyans would then have a bearable life. When Ruto came into office, he chose not to engage with anybody. And by the way, he said his government is not going to engage with anybody. And true to his word, instead of renegotiating with the IMF to give us, a little of relief, he just chose to do as IMF wishes. And this country does not belong to IMF, and neither does it belong to World Bank. This country belongs to the people of Kenya. And therefore, if there is an issue touching on the lives of Kenyans, then we need to renegotiate. So, answering your question, what they need to do is to bring back those subsidies. And by them, he has to renegotiate with the International Monetary Fund and other breaststroke institutions. He presented some fertilizer a few days when he got into office. And I do not know whether he works in tandem with meteorologists. They could have told him that this is a wrong time to give fertilizer. This is now the time to look into other matters, because you can only use fertilizer when it is raining, when people are due to plant, and many other things. And again, the whole chain of food production does not just rely on fertilizer. You need to plow your land, you need to get seeds, you need to weed and reweed, all that process. But Ruto was so quick. I don't know where he got this cheap fertilizer, which is not available anyway. But, the gusto around it, the advertisement about this fertilizer that he was talking about. You don't know in my village, I haven't found this fertilizer.
So, you don't know where it came from?
I don't know. Have
you asked at Parliament, through Parliament?
I think when somebody is presenting an item, you also have to declare where it has come from. So he negated his role. But that is besides...
What I'm asking is because, a citizen cannot wonder, just like you're wondering, because a parliamentarian, if it is too important, have you raised a question in Parliament?
I did, actually. I wish you'd get the parliamentary answered. I did ask that because I was suspecting it came from Morocco for free, and then he chose to sell it to us.
Did you get an answer?
No one presents answers. They are here. I wish they will. I respond to that. But this is what I want to finish up with. President Ruto has now resorted to prayers, which is very good. We need to pray for this country. And the prayers they held yesterday in Nakuru. At a mundane level, when you pray, you must have faith and action. In areas where people have really prayed with a lot of faith, it starts to rain immediately. But because they converted the prayer session into a political rally, responding to Baba, now there's no rain up to now. They have called another prayer tomorrow, just because the one for yesterday failed. So let's hope that the tomorrow one will work, and that there will be rains, and that we shall have bumper harvest in the nearest future. Otherwise, this government is, I don't know how to describe it well, but I think it has lost its radar. It's on, how do I describe your government? Because you guys don't know anything around running a government. And I thought Ruto has been a member of parliament, has been a cabinet minister, has been a deputy president for 10 years. And this guy doesn't know how to run government. Yawa. How would you do that?
I think some.
Okay.
No. Some I think...
I'll give an opportunity. Let's listen to some voices from the meeting in Nakuru County. I'll give an opportunity to Honorable Ochieng.
Held hostage to ethnic politics, to personality cult politics for far too long. We need to unchain ourselves from that kind of politics so that we can unleash the potential of our citizens and the potential of our country and move our country to the next level. Tunaelewana ndugu zangu? Kwa hivyo mimi nataka niwaambie wale wote wako tayari kufanya kazi na sisi, tuko tayari kufanya kazi na wao. Kwa sababu nia yetu sio kupanga siasa, nia yetu ni kupanga maendeleo ya taifa letu la Kenya kwa manufaa ya wananchi wote wa taifa la Kenya.
Na usijali hao watu wanajifanya wameshikwa. It is a very simple thing you don't understand. These people are having hallucinations and nightmares. They cannot sleep because walitumia askari kuumiza watu. Sasa yeye akiona askari anakuwa na nightmare.
Tumekutana kama chama cha Jubilee, and your excellency, with us here are NEC members wa Jubilee, with the 34 members, your excellency, in the National Assembly and in the Senate. We will be walking and working with you, your excellency.
All right, Honorable Ochieng. So that was the session yesterday. Of course, there were prayers, but there are also political sentiments that have been coming. And of course, the Deputy President told us that this will happen every Sunday for 52 weeks in a year. And the same question I asked him, but he didn't answer. To what end those protest meetings? To what end are these prayer meetings every other Sunday, from what you know?
The prayers are prayers, Sam. And whether the DP said they'll pray every Sunday or not, people will go to church on Sunday. This government didn't bring Sundays. Sundays have always been there. People will pray every Sunday, whether Rigiji says so or not. So prayers will be there. And I don't think these prayers are one-sided. Prayers are... Yesterday while we were in Nakuru, a team was in a place called Matayos, somewhere near my constituency. In prayers too, before they went for their rallies. So prayers will be there, and I don't think it should be an issue. I don't think prayers will stop if Gachagua said, we will not pray. Everyone will go to church. Honorable Mbuyi, I'm sure, went to church yesterday. So prayers are going to be there. And I don't think there should be so much ado about prayers. The issue...
But don't you feel like it's becoming a platform for people to respond to each other, to attack each other?
It's always been
politically?
So. It's always been so. Since I was born, I joined politics, there's no single Sunday when one side said something that wasn't responded by the other side. It's not new. It's not new at all, Sam. Or politicians going to church to respond to each other. It's not new. It's just that in this case, you have a president who likes going to church every Sunday. I mean, the last 10 years, if President Uhuru was going to church, these teams were going to church to respond to the other side. And so this is not new at all. The only addition is that the president and his deputy go to church regularly.
And you have no problem with that?
Not at all, because I was in Nakuru too yesterday. Okay. Now, the issue here, the issue here for me is that if you're going to use the rallies, whip up emotions, talk about things like what Honorable Jared is talking about here, blaming the government for no rains coming, you know, unashamedly talking about things as if he lives in another world, then someone has to respond. And I don't think in this period, Sam, you expect the president to also call a rally in Busia tomorrow to respond. I don't think so. And I think the president has taken a very good stand on this matter. I'll work Monday to Saturday. if I'm to respond to anybody, I'll respond on Sunday. I'll do that same.
Okay.
Because the president has work to do. But let's put the issues where they are, Sam. And this is very important. Because the Honorable Jared makes some extremely sweeping statements about the subsidies. When this government came to power in 2022, September, the subsidies bill for maize was 6 billion shillings. Debt, 6 billion. The debt for oil subsidy was 29 billion. Again, debt, not paid. A reason that the subsidy and the oil were purely campaign carrots. Extend them until we get elected, then you really did after the elections. I think we must look at these issues for what they are. These were campaign gimmicks meant to win an election. Then you deal with this. If you ask them what you're going to do after this, tell you, we'll see about it after election.
Win the election for who?
The elections for Raila Amolo Odinga.
Whom you've supported?
You know, I was part of that team, yes, so I know. You should ask me.
You didn't see a problem in that time?
I saw a problem. And that's why I'm saying they were wrong.
You didn't see a problem at that time?
I saw a problem. I'm telling you they were wrong. Look here, Sam, and this has to be made clear, that I'm the one who look for William Ruto, not the other way around. These people are going to him now, people are going to him. I'm the one who look for him.
You know, the reason I'm asking that question is,
I have to be clear on this.
If leaders are to be trusted, Honorable Cheng,
yes,
you have to take a position and stand with it, explain it or defend it.
Yes.
So if at that time you saw a problem but didn't speak out, why should he trust you that now you're speaking against it once it's past tense?
Now, I'm not speaking against it. I'm just talking about the effects of it. Like I've told you, and I've told you, and this was said even before elections, Sam, that before we went to elections, I come from Ugenya, and I know that nobody in my constituency got any subsidized unga.
Sam is saying you had a problem with it, but you never raised it. Now you've got a platform 5 months later.
I think truth doesn't change because I changed the position. The truth remains that the subsidies are basically hurting the economy. Check the facts, Sam. Is it not true that post-election with a bill of 6 billion shillings to pay for maize that partly was hardly delivered, partly reached the people that was intended? Is it not true that post-election with a bill of more than 29 billion shillings to oil marketers? Is it not true? These are facts. And I think I want us to put the issues where they lie. That for a while, decisions were made in this country towards elections that were not perfect. And just because David Ochieng was in Azimio doesn't mean that those things shouldn't have been questioned. No. I believe that we should have the presence of mind.
Right.
And even if I'm the one who made the decisions and realized they were wrong, I should be able to say these decisions were mine, but they were wrong. Okay. I realized that I was wrong, and I should correct them. That's what I'm saying now, that they were wrong and they should be corrected and they're being corrected. So if they're being corrected and done well, I believe that a chance should be given for their correction, but above all, to get a suitable alternative to them, so to ensure that Kenyans get the results they need, make lives livable. And that's what we should be working about as politicians, as parliamentarians, that the four of us here, next week when the budget comes to Parliament, should look at what do we need to do. Do we need to be sending money to the public? Should we be sending cash to people who are very poor? What's the best way to go about it? Should we be giving, farm inputs? Should we be giving more fertilizer? What do we need to do? You've had discussions, for example, happening in the public domain, people saying, no, instead of fertilizer, give us water. So as Parliament, are we able to say that let's give more water for irrigation to make this work? And Sam, I think we should now be talking about solutions. Okay. If you listen to both sides, it's a lot of blame game. A lot of blame game going all over the place. And we here and Jared are just happy that Uhuru is supporting them. There's nothing new about it. It's excitement for no reason at all. Let's get back to work. And I wanted to end this at this point, Sam. That as patriots, and Mark Twain says that patriotism is supporting your country all the time, and the government when it deserves it. I believe that this is the period when the government requires all our support. We don't have another country to go to live in. This is the only country we have. Bringing our minds together, our ideas together, to make lives livable for Kenyans would be a better way to go than blaming each other every day.
All right, Honorable Mbui, as you listen to this, and again, what's the long-term goal? Yes, all of you agree there is a problem, but you agree on the you don't agree on the implementation. You're afraid that your motions will be defeated in Parliament, but there has to be a solution because Kenyans are looking up to you. There's no one else they have.
Yeah, thank you, Sam. You know, even listening to my friend here when he says that when he was in Azimio, he knew things were wrong and he said nothing, is already a negative. And I think political leaders must learn to take responsibility. And that's why I abhor the misuse of the church. Because really, at the end of the day, the doctrines of the church go totally against settling political scores in church. And unfortunately, even the Nakuru one, there were hundreds of buses that we saw on social media that had been taken people from all over the country so that they can have a big crowd. I mean, you can talk to people even through radio and TV, you know, currently. But I believe that one of the problems we are facing is that government is not as responsive.
As Azimio?
We don't carry people. Some we don't carry.
Can you address people through radio?
Yes, we do. We can. But we also want to hear their opinion. If we speak to them on radio and TV, we will not hear their opinion. So that's why we go and meet the people and listen to them. We get their opinion.
How do you listen to them?
Before we do any rallies, we spend the whole day there. For your information, like the one in Machakos, we were having our PG also somewhere within Machakos. And we have people on the ground listening to the needs of the people. So that when we come to speak to them, see, our teams, our staff, our members, they were going around listening to the views of the people. In fact, a lot of times you notice that when we speak in a certain place, you'll hear we will address some matters that are also pertinent to those areas. So basically, the best thing is that the government needs to listen to the people. And I think that's where the problem is, because right now, I think we need to listen and support the people, as opposed to listening and supporting the leaders, which is what the current regime is doing. And some, you know, allow me to just mention some of the things my colleagues have raised here. For example, the issue of tax. That I've heard this story of tax. Oh, tax is not being brought in by Ruto and all that. But let me tell you that sometimes you can reduce taxes when there's a problem. During that period of COVID, and Ochieng and Jared were with me in Parliament, we reduced VAT. Why did we do that? We did that because we knew the pressure that it was having on the economy and on the people, and they are also suffering because of COVID. So if there's a problem, you can actually reduce taxes, and that is being responsive. Those are the kind of things we want to see.
But do you think it will bring the sustainable solutions you're looking for? We are not talking.
Let me tell you, some part of the problems the country is facing is drought. Drought may not go on forever. So after a period, maybe there will be rains and people will have enough harvest to put food on the table. So that will cease to be a problem. But there are also other issues, Sam. For example, there's this new education system of CBC, where children are going to junior secondary school. There's a lot of hidden costs that are being, heaped on parents because of that. And those are some of the soft problems that the government can actually solve by insisting that the children continue in the schools where they were learning in primary, not moving from maybe 5 kilometers to 10 kilometers away, by insisting that they use the same desks, the same classes. So we've put pressure on the children and on the parents unnecessarily. So these are the things I'm saying, that no one is listening to the people from this government. They are just implementing, the things from the offices. And then again, I mean, they blamed Uhuru continuously. Now you've heard David Ochieng here saying that we should engage reverse gear. Why didn't they tell us that the problem was not Uhuru, it was a systematic problem, sometimes also related to the climate and all that, sometimes even unrelated to governance, because COVID wasn't governance, but COVID, even some of the after effects are being felt up to now. So I think we need to become honest with each other and ensure that, I think the country actually does need the church, does need God. I heard Sonko speak in church. I was appalled. I mean, the first thing he did was he lied. The first thing he did when he stood up there was to lie. He said that that my party leader, Honorable Kalonzo Musyoka, told him that if he goes to Kenya Kwanza, he's finished, because immediately after they take over power, they would send Ruto to jail, Rigathi Gachagua to jail, and Sonko to jail. And I thought to myself, if he was working with us, why would we be sending him to jail? Because when he was talking about that, he was saying that if he defects, there was already a plan. How did we know in advance that he would defect? And then he finishes the conversation by saying some very unpalatable things about him and Matiang'i in prison. In church, Sam, I'm telling you, I think that God is punishing us.